so much stuff floating around. I don't know. People trying to say they wasn't together.
Basically was trying to get into a threesome.
That's all it was about. That's all it was about. You got Voldemort, he should not be named, along with his right-hand man, Pence, which we'll talk about in a minute, basically saying if somebody does that, they should be fired. Call them sons of whatever.
Yeah.
So now, guess what? Now that you acknowledge that Black Lives do matter, what about them who got their jobs lost? Are you going to help them out?
Yeah. No. And they're not going to do that. And you're absolutely right. You know, Colin Kaepernick, he was the first one to say, look, we're tired of the senseless killing of African Americans. There is no equal justice, and I'm going to take a knee.
That's all it was all about.
You had
I'm sorry to cut you off, Tom, but on top of that, he got that advice from guess who? A veteran.
Yeah, and guess what? Most veterans knew that was not disrespecting the American flag. They knew the reason why he had took that knee, and the rest of the NFL players were taking that knee. But see, what happened was George Floyd. What happened was the whole world seen the knee, not only on George Floyd's neck, but every African American's neck. Right. That's what really brought everything to life. And see, the NFL, even the NBA, they all had to take a stand on it. Why? Because 3/4, if not 75% of their leagues have African Americans in there. And they had to be sensitive to their feelings. Why? Because most of them came from poor families, poor communities, the projects, okay? So they had to be sensitive to them because they were feeling it as well. Most of them have young kids. They're worried about them as well. So the NFL and the NBA and the WNBA, all of those had to come together, and even the commissioner, even though you said he was full of it because something else should have been done, and tried to apologize and said, yes, we do recognize there is a problem, but it was too late because too many people, like you said, lost their jobs, wasn't able to feed their family. And if anything, they should be getting compensated for being treated, wrong, because they were sat down or they lost their jobs. They should be compensated. Are they going to do that? No. But the bottom line is, because of all of that, even because of now that it came to the forefront, we stood there a week and a half ago on national, worldwide TV and seen white supremacists, nationalists, extremists break into the Capitol building. No African Americans were treated in the way those people were treated. They were able to walk inside the Capitol. They were able to beat up police officers, kill the police officer, turn around and said they wanted to kill everybody in that building because they felt they represent everything that was wrong with America. Meanwhile, the Black Lives Matter movement had to deal with dogs, had to deal with tear gas, had to deal with rubber bullets, had to deal with the militia and those other white supremacist groups to be part of it. So it wasn't going to be a protest. But nobody wants to talk about that. Nobody wants to talk about how this insurrection was a setup. The people knew they were coming, and they made sure they had only the minimum security so they can overtake that building. And there's no way that you're going to be able to try to make me believe, a security professional, that you get information about these groups that are coming that are on the FBI list for being domestic terrorists, hate organizations, that you're not going to prepare for them. The only way you don't prepare for them is because you don't want to. Right. And the powers that be were the ones that pulled the plug on it. Because the mayor, if I'm not mistaken, I had heard 2 days before that, the mayor herself had turned around and said, we're calling in the National Guard. Now, all of a sudden, there's no National Guard. And they don't show up to 2.5 hours later after you have a police officer and 4 other people dead.
Right. And this
so come on. You show that.
One word.
Yeah, you show that there's white America and there's black America.
Right.
You showed that to the whole world on a week and a half ago on Wednesday, January 6th. You showed there's white America and there's black America. Black America, you're not going to do what they did on January 6th. And we're going to make sure that even if you're just standing around the White House, which they were doing, they didn't do anything. They were just standing. And they came out with vicious dogs and batons and shields and plastic bullets, rubber bullets, or what have you. No, you didn't see none of that on Insurrection.
Right.
You didn't see none of that on Insurrection Day.
One word.
Why is that?
One word.
Okay, go ahead.
Modern day lynching. That's all I gotta say.
Mm-hmm. And these organizations that as you support modern day lynching, I mean, we can like call them out here. I mean, these were the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, QAnon. I mean, these guys are actually on the FBI list as a quote unquote terrorist. So how is Black Lives Matter and Antifa on that same list as those 3 organizations? And trust me, there are probably more. They just haven't said it yet, but there's probably more on that. But let's be honest. What that insurrection taught me, it taught me that that just labeled white privilege altogether. Because let's be honest with ourselves. If Black Lives Matter came in and did the same thing that they did, they would have mowed us down like dogs in the street.
Body bags.
First of all,
body bags. I mean, you would have
First of all, I gotta say this: we wouldn't even made it to the steps. How about that?
Damn right.
We wouldn't even made it to the steps. It's so amazing how they made it inside. We wouldn't even made it to the steps. That speaks so much volume right there. And if somebody had to dare to tell me, "Oh, America is not racist," after witnessing, I'm gonna look at you like you crazy. Because all throughout this whole time that he's been in the chair, you saw nothing but division. But hey, we hold the upper hand, and they continue to show us they hold the upper hand. I mean, so it's like, you know what? Don't get tired. Don't get tired. I know we're tired, but don't get tired. That's my message to everyone out there that listens. Go ahead, Tom.
And you're right. We can't get tired. If anything, this should be a lesson. This should be a lesson of what we have to do for one another in the Black and brown communities. It should be a lesson to say, you know what? We need to stop hating one another. We need to be able, because we need one another in order to be effective. We need to be able to find common ground that if you don't like me, let's find common ground. Where's common ground? Racism, racial hate, discrimination, no equal justice. We can find common ground there, so me and you could be in the same room, have this conversation, bring more people. Whether you like me or not is not an issue. What is an issue is what we witnessed last Wednesday, or the Wednesday before last, at the Capitol building. That's enough to show you that we don't have any power. And we need to be able to come together, rebuild our communities. So 1, we could get rid of this pandemic. 2, we need to be able to start putting money in Black-owned businesses, all right? So we could be able to profit from one another. How do we do that? We all need to come to the table to start planning, because we could do it. But the thing is, are we going to be, and you heard me say this before, Kalima, are we going to be serious about being serious about the business of our own African Americans and our well-being? Are we going to be serious about that? Or are we going to still be going through the motions? I want to say something else, but I love to represent what I know I can represent. The thing is, we've been doing it too long. It's time that we be effective. We just can't keep going through the motions. We just can't speak unity. We can't speak it. We can't speak it no more. We got to be about it. If we're not going to be about rebuilding our own communities, especially for our children who are our future leaders of tomorrow, then we're lost. We can't blame nobody else but ourselves.
Right.
I'm sorry.
You hit it square in the head now. Now, Kay, you wanted to say something?
Right. So I can say this, seeing this firsthand, because of, our eyes are wide open. You can't help to now let your eyes be wide open now. I do see some people in the African American community saying, hey, we need to come together, because I've been on numerous phone calls saying, hey, how can we start being affiliate? How can we start promoting one another? How can we start supporting you? So I am seeing it firsthand, but just to kick it up a notch, because we're going to leave the Trump administration alone, because we can talk about that all day, every day. I want to talk about the new administration that just came in. I want to talk a little bit about Biden. We don't know what he's going to do yet, but we're going to talk about what we want to see. But so far, I think one of the best strategies so far that Biden implemented was picking people on his team and he has a diversified team. That right there, that speaks a whole lot of volume. What's your thoughts, Tom?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I agree totally. Not that it's so much diverse, but if you always notice that when a Democratic Party takes over, their administration is diverse. Their cabinet is diverse. The only ones that's not diverse is the Republicans. The other thing with that is we have to be able to look at the background of the people that he selected to be part of his administration. All these people are qualified. They are professionals. They've been in the government. They've either been assistant chairs or assistant developers in some form of the government. So this is what makes this team so unique. It's not anybody that he doesn't know and has to get to know to see if they're going to do right. He already knows they've been doing right, and they're going to continue to support him because they've already had those relationships.
Absolutely. And Manny, before you say something, I just have to say this. Me personally, I am proud that he actually handpicked, women, and not even just women, African American women. That right there, to have the first vice president as a African American woman, that's like, wow, that just show us anything and all things is possible.
Absolutely. And that was one thing I was going to mention. He picked a very diverse group of people, but he also picked women. He picked well qualified. And the one thing I will say is I like about this administration so far is the loss of nepotism. He didn't just pick his friends. He didn't pick, quote unquote CEOs that want to have, build their own brand and everything. He picked people that were qualified to do this job and do this job well. Now, with that being said, what I want the Biden administration to acknowledge is that we dealt with 4 years of bullshit. Okay, let's call it what it is. We want to make sure that when you step in when you step in, you do your first 100 days, because we're going to acknowledge we're watching you. We want to make sure that you do right by everybody, including the African American community and the Hispanic community, because a lot of times we hear things and we don't see action. Because a lot of people don't understand. We see better than we hear, right? Mm-hmm. So it's more important that we want them to know that, listen, we voted you in, now it's time to work. And unfortunately, you have to deal with 45's impeachment again, but we're not going to go there. We're not going to go there. I mean, again, we can go all day, every day, the whole weekend and everything, but with him. But let's keep it on task.
Well, see, the Biden's administration coming in, from what I've seen and watched and hear what he's proposed to do. I think what he's proposing to do is the right thing. He has to take on the two biggest things that is wrong with America. One is the pandemic. Two is the economy, and get people and businesses back up to par. So he's already got a 1.9 trillion package in effect that he's going to put to be passed, and we know they're going to pass that. They're going to get the $1,400 from that $2,000 that they said they wanted to give from the beginning, and he's going to take care of the small businesses or what have you. He's going to have money out there for them. He's going to have money out there for the local and state governments who Trump did not want to give, and neither did McConnell want to give it to them. You see what I'm saying? To help whatever else the states needed to continue to build within their own states. You also, they're also going to have money put toward more vaccines and for those people to help administer the vaccines. So that's the two most important things. If those things could get off the ground and get those moving, that may change some people's way of looking things as far as being a Trump supporter, that he's trying to build back a better nation. All right. But the thing is get money into the American people's pockets. Whether you hear talk about, oh, well, everybody don't need it, or some people are abusing it, that isn't the case. The case is people need money. Those who want to abuse it. But there's people that need it, and they need the help right away. Get that money to the local businesses that have shut down, that they can reopen. That's not going to cost them a whole lot of money to pay that. These are the things that are going to allow Biden to be a lot better, if not better, than Donald Trump, because now he's really servicing those 80 million people who voted for him. And one thing I just want to say about that election, which we got passed, people want to talk about voter fraud, and that's fine. But if you want to talk about voter fraud, let's talk about, in the same breath, voter suppression. Because, see, that's what happened. That's what happened. Voter, back in 2019, coming into 2020, and that's what Trump knew, that a lot of the laws from other states had changed as far as their way of voting.
Right.
And a lot of it came in with mail-in voting. So when mail-in voting came, there was no more voter suppression. You see what I'm saying? So those people that registered to vote, when they got online and got to there and said, yeah, I'm here to vote, and they was like, I'm sorry, I don't have your name here. That went away. That went away. And see, Stacey Abrams knew that. So what she did was, when they registered, she made them follow up on it to make sure that they got their cards.
Right.
That's where that voter ID came in. You see what I'm saying? So let's talk about voter suppression. You want to talk about voter fraud, because voter suppression is part of voter fraud.
Right.
Bottom line.
That part. And what a lot of people don't know, I just want to piggyback this small portion. What a lot of people don't know, that over the years, people was kind of afraid of mail-in ballots. But Trump, that's how he put his votes in, mail-in ballot. And a lot of people don't even know that. So he's going to say, oh, don't do the mail because it's fraud. So something that you have been doing for ages is now fraud. Okay.
Yep, exactly. But he also said the red states knew how to handle it, but the blue states, again, division. Right. There is no red states. There is no blue states. There's only the United States of America. And even to get back to that title, we have a lot of work to do, because nobody looks at us like that any longer.
Absolutely.
And the funny part about what you said is the United States. Yeah, there is red and blue. And the problem I have is, going back to the insurrection, other countries modeled their governments through us. Now you have people who are not so much in tune with democracy, basically saying, see, I told y'all democracy doesn't work. Look at America, the quote unquote poster child for democracy. Yeah. You got their own people rushing to the Capitol, taking stuff, desecrating everything, beating their own people up, beating their own cops up. I mean, they want to hang Mike Pence, as they say. They want to kidnap Pelosi. I mean, let's be real. it really had. I mean,
third world countries.
Right.
We became a third world country.
Right.
That's what we became.
Basically. But one thing I do want Biden to do, and I will honestly say this until he does it, is I want to see him try his best to unify everyone, regardless of how you feel about your political party, regardless of how you feel about religion, regardless of how you feel about your state or the people in power. I want everybody to work together because let's be honest with ourselves. We basically turned back the hands of time. Now we live in the 1940s in a matter of 4 years. So
yeah,
we're in 2021 and all of a sudden it's 1943 all over again. Why is that?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So and I understand you perfectly.
It's just one of those things.
I understand you perfectly. I just think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, I just want to see that from his administration, which I do hope and I do plan on seeing from Biden, but I also want to see that from his administration as far as what I would like to see. Forget the stimulus checks. Yes, I want the pandemic to end because I'm tired of walking around Walmart with a mask on. Let's be real.
Yeah, we all are.
I mean, and then on top of that, I want the vaccines to go out. Now, regardless of whether you just want to take the vaccines or not, that's totally up to you and that's totally your decision. I'm not forcing y'all to take it. However, for those who do want to take it, i.e. people of elderly, people of, of premeditation, all those guys that really need it, not necessarily want it, but need it. I want them to get that done. You know what I mean? But I also want to see this country go back to what it used to stand for. Freedom.
Well, the only way that's going to happen, and you said, Manny, you want to see what Biden's going to do as far as to bring the country back together. And I think when Obama became president, we were looking for the same thing. But what we overlooked was what Obama was really saying to us. And I've been saying this for the last few months, is that Obama said, we are the ones that have been waiting for change. In other words, not him, we the people. Right. So we are the ones that are going to have to initiate that and help Biden make that change. We in every community, every African-American community, Black and brown community, even with the whites and the Indians and the Chinese, in those communities, because all communities are diverse, we are going to have to start making those changes in our own communities to trickle down into counties, to trickle down into the rest of the state. And then you're going to have that United States of America again, because that's where it's going to, we just can't wait for one person.
Right.
To show us. We have to be that change. We are the change. But if we don't, that's just like you with your house. You know what I'm saying? If things are going wrong there, if you don't make that change in your house, man, it's going to be the same.
Absolutely.
That's the same thing with us in our community. If we don't make that change in our community, and I'm going to wait for Biden in 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. I live in the Poconos. I got to take care of him so I can help Biden and say, hey, Biden, look what we did at the Poconos.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? That's what we have to do in each community in order to support being, what's his slogan? Build back better. In order for us to do that, we have to do it in our communities.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, to be honest, it's starting, because I think in this pandemic, it opened a lot of people's eyes. And like I was saying earlier in the show, people are just saying, hey, let's focus on building. Let's focus on doing this. Let's focus on supporting, like you said, Tom, get back into the African-American communities and just support one. I see that taking place right now, because I think, honestly, in this pandemic, if that didn't open your eyes to say, hey, we need unity, I don't know what were you watching the whole time it was in it, because it felt like, now that we're in 2021, you look back like you're like, was that a movie? Because that's how you feel.
Yeah, because it was like it looked like it was.
What did you learn from that movie? What was the valuable information that set on your heart? You know what I'm trying to say?
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, absolutely.
Matter of fact, I heard somebody joke. Now that 2020 needs to be put it on the Bible, because if we survived it, we need to be in it.
Hey, look, it was, and you're right, because it was a whole lot. Even us three, sitting here and having this conversation, we were blessed because the COVID didn't hit us. We're able to have this conversation. We're still healthy, where almost 380,000 people have left this earth because of the COVID-19 for one reason or another.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So the thing is, we need to be able, like Kalima said, and like you're saying, we need to be able to have a different way of thinking now because of 2020. It exposed everything. The pandemic exposed everything. The Black Lives Matter, or the senseless killings of African Americans, exposed everything. But on top of that, that wasn't enough. So came Wednesday, January 6th, 2021. That blew it up. That definitely lets you know that you don't have to scratch your head no more, right, which way America is rolling. Right. And that we can roll that way because America is not built that way.
Mm-hmm. Now, and I'm going to say this, and then we'll go ahead and close this show out. I need to speak to all the Trump supporters, and I'm not going to bash y'all because y'all don't know no better. It's all good. If y'all really think about what y'all believe in, let's rewind something real quick. You remember how we Americans used to have this big thing against Al Qaeda and how it radicalized people? Think about what happened to y'all. Y'all were radicalized by this modern day tyrant, this modern day Mussolini, this modern day Joseph Stalin, this modern day Fidel Castro. And all of a sudden, y'all just drank the Kool-Aid and y'all just went on. And now most of y'all are losing y'all jobs. Y'all are going to federal prison because of, y'all want to raid in the name of making America great again. So really think about your actions. Okay. Think about what y'all did and think about the truth here. Do y'all really believe that this election was a fraud and there was voter fraud? I mean, are we saying that there's no such thing? No, we're not saying there's no such thing. But did it happen? No. And you know why it didn't happen? Because 60 judges, and probably more or less, said there wasn't voter fraud. So maybe one or two, okay, maybe there's a benefit of the doubt. But when there's 60, there is no doubt. Sorry to disappoint each and every one of y'all, but y'all really need to think. It's not illegal yet, trust me. But it's just understand what y'all did and just atone for it. We won't hate you. We just won't rock with y'all because for some odd reason y'all can't even be criminals correctly. I mean, y'all going out not covering up your mask and everything. Y'all telling y'all's government names and where y'all can be located. And I'm like, and then y'all put it on social media too. I mean, y'all can't even be criminals correctly. I'm like, this is why we can't mess with y'all. Seriously.
See, man. And the reason, and you want to know why the reason they don't care, Kalima and Manny? They don't care because the president, which has got 5 days, the president of the United States told them that. And because the president of the United States told them that, they believe it. Because you already have one that's been arrested for insurrection that has already said, well, the president invited me to come here. Not my fault. So, and that's what they're saying. So the thing is, they're using the president. The president of the one is speaking the words, like people have already said. Words matter. His words matter to 75 million people. And most of them are hate organizations that don't, like I said at the beginning of the case, don't want to feel like they're going to be extinct as far as a race is concerned, and don't want that to happen. And they're going to stay on top of that as long as this man sits in the chair, as long as they allow him to come back and run for president again, which we're hoping the Senate passes that so he won't.
Absolutely.
Right. And we're going to go ahead and put a period on this show because we can go on and on and on and on. Yes. But I was told we only got 1 hour to do this. So we basically put 30 pounds of stuff in a 10-pound bag. So we're going to go ahead and close this out. Now, one thing I want to tell our listeners, if you're listening to us on YouTube, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell so you don't miss a video. If you see us on Instagram Live, hit the heart. Make sure you share this. Make sure you let somebody know that we are here. And also, if you see us through Facebook, run those likes up.
I hear that.
And I want to tell everybody, because now this show is over, come and be with us on the Facebook page and tell us your thoughts, your comments, and like Manny said, share it. So we just want to thank everyone for tuning in today. Continue to follow us here at the Lady K Chat Podcast. And you can also go on our website at www.ladykenterprisesinc.com. And if you're on the fly, catch us on Spotify, and we're also on Apple. Have the rest of your afternoon, everyone.
All right. Bye-bye, everyone.
Lady K.